Hey family, MarshaunO here, your favorite life and relationship strategist, and I'm here to talk to you about the fundamentals or the basics of any relationship, any healthy relationship. So the fundamentals or the basics of any healthy relationship, and most people want to be in healthy relationships, but what I've come to find out is that most people do not know how to be in a healthy relationship. And so I want to make sure that you can be in a healthy relationship by taking in the information and actually applying these things to your own relationships, because most of us had to bump our heads out here trying to figure things out, and so many of us have come from toxic relationships or toxic family environments, and then we think that this is how we're supposed to show up, this is how we're supposed to be in our own relationship. And so when things are not working out, when it seems very toxic to yourself, when you're feeling like my spouse does not understand who I am, or why does he or she always yell, why do they always scream, that's why I actually shut down, it's because you don't understand the fundamentals or the basics of having a healthy relationship. And so I want to come to you and give you 10 things. 10, because 10 is actually a very small number when you're thinking about the lifeline of your relationship. And so I want to make sure that I get all of these in and we talk about them. So let's go ahead and jump into the very first thing. The very first thing is always communication. It really is, because you have to be able to converse, to speak the words that you need to speak, whether it's verbalizing them or whether it's writing them down on a pen or paper, or even emailing them, and at the very least texting them. The point is for you to be able to get these things out to your spouse, to your partner, so you both can feel heard, you both can feel understood, and again, you'll be able to communicate about the good, about the bad, about the happy, about the sad, about the things that, you know what, you pissed me off the other day, and this is why this is what happened, this is why I was pissed off. Not in a blaming way, but still in a way to get your feelings, to express yourself, to get it all out, so your partner or spouse understands where you are coming from. So there is no I didn't know, right? There is no sweeping things under the rug and then you're wondering why you're treating your spouse a certain way, or why things are not being talked about, and why the relationship is not moving as smooth as it could be, because maybe you're a person that actually sweeps things under the rug. So you have to stop sweeping those things under the rug and actually talk about what went wrong during that time. This is why I was actually pissed off. This is what was happening with me. This is why I was feeling that way. Get all of those things out in the open and stop holding them in, because when you continue to hold those things in, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's when the resentment builds up. That's when the resentment builds up and you're really not looking at your spouse the same way that you once did. You do not feel like you are in this newlywed stage. You're like, this is old and stale, and then maybe you're creeping over or beginning to have thoughts about creeping outside of the relationship. But a lot of it, you don't understand that a lot of it you are actually doing yourself. You're creating this yourself as well. So the number 2 thing is respect. We all want to feel respect. We all want to feel like we're able to say a certain thing without being dogged out, without being taken for granted, without being like, you know what, that was just stupid, right? We all want to feel like we're an equal in the relationship, and so that's where respect comes in. Your tone of voice can be disrespectful, right? So you want to watch your tone of voice. The timing could be disrespectful when you want to have a conversation, so watch the timing, right? So there's a lot of things that come into the respect way, but a lot of it is your tone of voice. I truly believe that you can say whatever you want to say to anybody, including your spouse. It's all about how you say it. It's all about your delivery, not specifically what you're saying. It's about how you're saying the thing that you are saying. Number 3 is love. We all want to feel love. So love and respect actually go hand in hand. We all want to feel like we are loved in our relationship. We all want to feel like, oh my God, this is the best thing that has happened to me in a long period of time. This person is the best person that has happened to me in a long time. I feel love whenever I speak to him. I feel love whenever he looks at me. And I'm saying he, but this can also be a she as well. Men want to feel love, but they more than anything want to feel respected. So love and respect go hand in hand. Man want respect. Theirs is higher on the spectrum, and then love is higher on the spectrum for women. But these are very, very important things in any relationship. So these are both a part of the fundamentals or the basics of any relationship. Number 4. You want to feel like you're a part of a team. You want to feel like you're part of a partnership and not just somebody who is an individual doing everything by themselves while they're still in a relationship with somebody else. You're sleeping in the same bed. You're still having sex with one another, but you're not doing anything together. Maybe you're feeling like I do all of the domestic duties. I take care of all of the children. I do whatever, right? I'm the one who's doing all the working. I'm the one who's staying up and caring for the children. Like you're thinking that it's all one-sided, and it does not have to be that way. But this is where the communication comes into play, because now you can say, babe, I'm actually tired, and this is what I need in order to feel love, in order to feel love in this relationship. This is where we're at in our relationship, and this is the stage that we're actually in, and I need more help. And so a lot of times we get ticked off and we get pissed off, but we're not realizing that we're not actually verbalizing these things to our partner, to our spouse. And sometimes you, as the person that's taking on all of this stuff, you come off as very, very strong. And because you're not verbalizing it, you're just internalizing all of this stuff and getting pissed off at your spouse. Your spouse thinks that you got it, but it's all because you're not speaking up, and because you think that your spouse is supposed to be a mind reader, and they are not. They are not. None of us are mind readers. So if you want something, then you have to speak up and ask for it, and don't feel guilty, and don't feel like your feelings do not matter. They do. They do. And so anytime you continue to converse, to actually have conversations, have you ever noticed that when you do that, everything subsides? The anger subsides, the frustration subsides, you feel more understood, and a lot of times it really is a misunderstanding. Is it always a misunderstanding? No, but a lot of times it is a misunderstanding. So instead of it being a misunderstanding, let's just have the conversations. That's the fundamental of your relationship, that communication part. And as I mentioned in one of my other videos, it doesn't matter how you communicate, the communication style needs to work for your relationship. Whether that's verbalizing, whether that's pen and paper and giving them the notes, or pen and paper and saying, hey, let me just read this to you. This is what I was feeling the other night, and I just want you to listen. And that way, that's an uninterrupted thought being able to be expressed to your partner, expressed to your spouse, and they can actually take in what you're trying to say, and you will also feel heard. You will also feel understood. And then you guys can actually converse about the things that were written down in the notes. It doesn't matter how it happens. It just needs to happen. The 5th thing is honesty. How often do you think that this person is a liar? You need to be as honest as possible, even if it hurts your partner's or spouse's feelings. Because guess what? If and when that stuff comes out, the truth comes out, your partner is going to feel like, what else have you lied about? You thought that that was going to hurt my feelings back then, but it hurts me even more that I'm finding out this way. And most of the time that finding out this way is not usually from the spouse. It's usually from somebody else, or maybe they weren't even trying to tell on you per se, but they were like, oh, you know what? I seen your husband out there talking to, the neighbor, whatever. And you're like, I asked this dude to respect me enough. I know that the neighbor likes her. I know the neighbor likes him. I ask her not to be out there talking to the neighbor. And now you don't feel respected. You don't feel loved. You don't feel heard. Honesty. And then especially if me as the partner, me as the spouse comes to you and say, hey, were you out there talking to ex-neighbor? And you're like, nah, I wasn't out there. Not realizing that somebody had already told on you, not that they were trying to tell on you, but they did. So now I got to talk about and think about all the lies that you've been telling to me. Why even do any of that to yourself? Honesty is really, really big, which brings me into point number 6, because once the honesty breaks down, that means the trust is breaking down as well. And if you don't have trust, you don't really have anything in your relationship. If you feel that you have to micromanage your spouse, your partner, What kind of relationship is that? What kind of life are you building? If the trust is broken down, you don't really have anything in your relationship. It's all a lie, and it's just a matter of time before one of you say enough is enough, and then you end up leaving, because trust is that big, just as communication is that big. But again, these are the fundamentals of every relationship. So if you plan on getting into a long-term relationship or a marriage, you need to have all of these fundamentals on lock. Number 7, understanding. All of us want to feel understood in our relationship. If there is something that you have a question about, instead of just making up this entire story in your head, ask me, ask your spouse, ask your partner. They are the only person that has the answer, because you're just guessing. And all of us have a tendency to make up these stories, and it's the stories that benefit us, the storyteller. But if you actually ask your spouse, if you ask your partner, what was happening there? Can you explain this? Can you tell me about this? I was feeling this. And then you get an understanding, because they actually were able to explain the what, the how, the when, the why. Then there's that story immediately dissipates. It goes away. We all want to feel understood. Another thing, it's a feeling which goes into the understanding, which is feeling heard. I don't want you to tell me how I'm supposed to feel, because they're my feelings. I'm allowed to feel the way that I want to feel, and not feel guilty that I feel these things, not feel shameful that I feel these things. And also, what I want from you in that moment is your support. I don't care if you understand or not. And this is what other people want as well. You want to feel heard. You want to feel understood. You want to feel loved. You don't want to feel any type of judgment in that moment. I just want to be able to come to you, and your spouse wants to be able to just come to you and have these tough, awkward, crazy sometimes conversations, because you are the person that he or she chose to build a life with. Feeling heard, feeling understood, trust, honesty, love, respect, teamwork, communication, which brings me to point number 9, which is acceptance. All of us want to feel accepted in our relationship. Again, no judgment. Accept me for who I am. Don't try to change me. So don't try to change your spouse. Accept him or her for who he or she is today, not for the person that you're waiting for them to become. And then you're actually going to respect them more because they went and got that degree, or you're going to respect them more because now they're making more money, or you're going to respect them more because now they did fill in the blank. No, that happens right now. Whatever your spouse, wherever your partner is, you accepting him or her for who he or she is. Even if you're deciding to say, you know what, they lie a little too much. You know that. So now the choice is here. Are you going to stay or are you going to go? But if you decide to stay, then you cannot punish him or her for that characteristic or trait that you actually hate or despise, because you're making a conscious decision to say yes. So you can't punish him or her if you decide to stay. You have to accept that you know that you are married to or in a long-term relationship with a liar. That's it. Or a cheater, or a gambler, or a drinker, or a fill in the blank of whatever it is, the thing that you just really don't like, and then you decide to accept him or her for where they are right now. You cannot bring that stuff up and then throw it in their face. That is breaking down the trust. That is breaking down the communication. That is actually shutting him or her down when it comes to sharing their life and sharing the information with you. And then we always think that it's the other person's fault, not realizing that we're actually starting this whole cycle, this whole thing that's about to go downhill. If I can't talk to you, then what's going on? If your spouse can't talk to you, then why would they? They're going to find somebody else to talk to. It's not that the conversation is going to go away. It's the conversation is going to go away with you. Not that it's going to go away, and immediately just because you don't want to talk about it doesn't mean that it's going to leave your spouse's brain. It's not. They're just not going to talk about it with you. They're going to start having emotional connections with somebody else that will actually listen to them, so they feel heard, so they feel understood, so they feel loved and respected. Number 10, repair. Most people don't think about repair. The repairing portion is anytime an argument, a fight, a misunderstanding comes up, that mistake needs to be repaired. That thing needs to be talked about so you can understand them. Repairing is going to help your relationship go so much further. Again, one of the fundamentals of your relationship, because you guys are two different people trying to come together to build this one relationship together. And because of that, because you have both have come from two different backgrounds, or at least two different families, you have two different upbringings, there are going to be things that you see one way and that he or she sees another, and think that that's the right way. Both of you are thinking that you're right. And it's not to say that you're not right, but it might not be right for your relationship. So now you need to come together and have some type of a compromise so it works for your relationship. I'm gonna go through the 10 really quickly. Communicate, respect, love, partnership or teamwork, honesty, trust, understanding, feeling heard, acceptance, repair, and now I have a bonus for you, which is intimacy. And intimacy does not always lead to sex. Intimacy is the conversations. Intimacy is the holding hands. Intimacy is the hugs. Intimacy is the kisses. Intimacy is the I got you. Intimacy is the I see you. Intimacy is the I forgive you. Intimacy is the my gosh, thank you. Intimacy is the I am so sorry. I messed up. And now I am able to accept responsibility for what I did to you, to the family, to even myself. Will you forgive me? Those are all very intimate moments. Is sex intimacy? It's a part of intimacy, but it is not the definition of intimacy. So now I want to know what you are going to work on. What are you going to say yes to in your relationship? What fundamental do you need to work on? What fundamental are you going to say, yes, this is what I'm going to consistently work on? And once you have that one down packed, then you can move down the list. I want to know down in the comment section below. I love you guys. There's nothing that you can do about it. And I'll see you very, very soon.